On the dusty mining world of Varel 9, where the twin suns scorched the red rock and the air tasted like rust, a young researcher named Kale spent his days sifting through forgotten data. He worked in the Orbital Archive, a crumbling station that drifted just above the planet's thin atmosphere, filled with relics from a time before the Cathari Concord ruled the stars. Most of the files were junk, old trade logs, broken navigation charts, and corrupted entertainment streams from extinct colonies. But Kale believed something important was hidden there. He just had to find it. He wasn't supposed to be there after hours. The archive closed at dusk cycle, and the security drones patrolled the corridors with glowing red eyes. But Kale had disabled his access badge's tracker weeks ago. He needed quiet. He needed time. And tonight, his patience paid off. Deep in Sector Gamma 7, buried under layers of encryption older than the Concord itself, he found a signal. It wasn't a file or a message log. It was a live transmission looping endlessly, though no source could be traced. The audio was cracked and thin like a voice speaking through broken glass, but the words were clear. "We remember your kindness." Kyle froze. His hands hovered over the console. That phrase, it wasn't Cathari. It wasn't any known language in the Concord database, but the translation engine flagged it as human standard, a tongue not heard in over 300 years. Humanity had vanished long before Kale was born. Official records claimed their last colony burned in a civil war, their ships scattered, their people gone, extinct. A cautionary tale taught in schools. Yet here was proof they'd existed, and that someone, somewhere, still remembered. Heart pounding, Kale copied the signal into a secure drive and wiped his access trail. He didn't sleep that night. By dawn cycle, he was knocking on the door of Elder Mira's quarters in the lower ring of the station. Mira was old, her silver scales dulled by age, but her eyes were sharp. She had once been the Concord's chief archivist before retiring to Varel 9 to study the quiet histories, as she called them. She let Kyle in without a word, poured 2 cups of bitter root tea, and listened as he played the transmission. When the voice said, "We remember your kindness," Mira's cup clattered against the table. Her hands trembled. "You've heard this before," Kale said, not as a question. Mira stared into the steam rising from her tea. Not the words. But the story behind them? Yes, she told him of a legend passed down in hushed tones among the oldest Cathari families. Long ago, before the Concord's rise, a strange vessel, small, silver, and shaped like a falling leaf, crashed on the Cathari homeworld during a great storm. Only one being survived, tall, soft-skinned, with eyes full of fear and wonder. The locals called it the Starwalker. Instead of turning it over to the warlords of the time, a village elder hid the stranger. They fed it, healed its wounds, and taught it their tongue. In return, the Starwalker shared knowledge. How to purify poisoned water, how to read the stars for navigation, how to mend broken bones with light. After many moons, the stranger built a new ship from scrap and left, pressing a small crystal into the elder's hand. "If ever your people are in need," it had said, "we will remember your kindness." No one believed the tale was real. It was a fable like stories of sky whales or singing mountains. But now, with this signal echoing through dead space, Mira's voice cracked as she whispered, "They're coming back." Before Kale could ask what that meant, alarms blared through the station. Red lights pulsed in the hallway. Mira's comm unit buzzed violently. "Archive breach," a robotic voice announced. "Unauthorized data extraction detected in Sector Gamma 7. All personnel report for questioning." Kale's blood ran cold. They knew. He shoved the drive into his pocket. "I have to go." Mira grabbed his wrist. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "Don't trust the Concord security. They've been erasing human records for generations. If they find that signal, they'll destroy it, and you." She pressed a small key into his palm. A physical key, ancient and warm. "This opens the old observatory on the surface, beneath the main telescope. There's a hidden terminal. If you need to disappear, go there." Kale nodded and slipped out the back service hatch just as armored boots echoed down the corridor. He ran through maintenance tunnels, heart hammering, until he reached the docking bay. His personal skiff, a battered second-hand craft named Whisper, was still there. Barely. He launched just as 2 Concord interceptors powered up nearby. He didn't wait. He punched the thrusters and shot toward Varel 9's surface, the planet's red dust swirling below like blood in water. Hours later, Hidden in a canyon far from any settlement, Kale powered down the whisper and pulled out the drive. He replayed the signal again. "We remember your kindness." It sounded different now, less like a memory, more like a warning. That night, as the twin suns dipped below the horizon and the stars blinked awake, a new message arrived on his private comm channel. It wasn't from the archive. It wasn't from Mira. The sender ID was blank. The message contained only 3 lines. "They're coming back and they're not alone. Don't trust anyone who says they're here to help." Kale stared at the words until his eyes burned. Outside, the wind howled through the canyon like a ghost searching for its name. He thought of the Star Walker, alone and wounded, saved by strangers. He thought of the Concorde, powerful and orderly, scrubbing history clean. And he thought of whatever was out there now, human or something wearing humanity like a mask. He powered up the skiff again. The observatory was 50 clicks east. If Mira was right, answers waited beneath the telescope. But as he lifted off, a flicker of movement caught his eye on the ridge above. A shadow, too still to be natural. Watching, Kyle didn't look back. He flew low and fast, weaving through rock spires. The drive clutched tight in his hand. The pass was waking up, and it wasn't gentle. Somewhere in the void between stars, something ancient stirred. It remembered kindness. But memory, Kale was beginning to understand, could be a weapon too. The sky above Varel 9 split open without sound. One moment the stars were calm. The next, a shape darker than night slid into orbit. A ship so vast it blotted out whole constellations. It had no lights, no markings, no signal. It simply appeared, hanging in the void like a held breath. Down in the canyon, Kale felt the ground tremble. He had just reached the old observatory. A crumbling dome of rusted metal, half buried in red sand. The key Mira gave him clicked into place, and a hidden hatch groaned open beneath the broken telescope. But before he could descend, the sky changed. Across the planet, alarms wailed. Concorde defense grids lit up like angry eyes. Warships scrambled from hidden docks, engines roaring as they shot into the sky. Yet the dark vessel did nothing. It didn't fire. It didn't speak. It just waited. Kale ducked inside the hatch, pulling the door shut behind him. Below, a narrow stair spiraled into darkness. At the bottom, a single terminal glowed faintly, powered by some forgotten geothermal tap. He plugged in the drive. The signal from the archive flared to life, but now it was stronger, clearer. And it carried coordinates not to Varel 9, not to any known world, but to a place Kale had only heard in whispers, the sanctuary moon of Lyra. A neutral zone protected by ancient treaty, where no weapons were allowed, and no species could claim ownership. A place of peace, or so the story said. As he stared at the coordinates, his comm buzzed again. This time it was an official channel, Concord High Command. His name was called. His face flashed on wanted screens across the sector. "Kale of Viral 9, the voice announced. "You are charged with data theft, treason, and contact with forbidden species. Surrender immediately." He shut off the comm. They knew too much. Someone had talked. Or maybe they'd been watching him all along. 2 days later, a small diplomatic shuttle landed near the observatory under cover of dust storm. Kale almost didn't answer the call. But the voice on the other end was Mira's, and she sounded afraid. "Get in," she said. "We don't have time." Inside the shuttle, Mira wasn't alone. 2 Concord officers stood stiffly in the back, but their eyes held no hostility, only urgency. "The Council has seen the signal," Mira explained as the shuttle lifted off. "They believe humanity has returned, and they think it's a trap." Kyle said nothing. He just watched the dark ship grow larger in the viewport. "They're sending us to Lyra," Mira continued. "Not as prisoners, as witnesses. The Council wants to know if this is peace or war." The journey took 6 hours. Silence filled the cabin. Kale studied the officers. One kept glancing at him, not with suspicion, but with something like hope. The other tapped a rhythm on his knee, nervous or signaling. Kale couldn't tell. When they arrived at the sanctuary moon, the dark ship was already there, floating just beyond the moon's silver rings. Up close, it was even more unsettling. Its hull seemed to absorb light as if it weren't made of metal but of shadow-given form. Yet no weapons bristled from its sides. No fighters launched. It simply waited. A smaller craft detached from its belly, a sleek white shuttle with smooth curves and no visible seams. It drifted toward the moon's landing pad without permission, without warning. The conquered officers tensed. Mira gripped Kale's arm. Then the shuttle door opened. A woman stepped out. Tall, with short dark hair and eyes that held centuries of quiet. She wore a simple gray uniform, no rank, no emblem. Behind her stood a man with pale skin and eyes that glowed faintly blue. Cybernetic implants, Kale guessed. They carried no weapons. "I am Captain Wren," the woman said, her voice calm, clear, and unmistakably human. "We come in peace. We remember your kindness." The words sent a chill through Kale. She had used the exact phrase from the signal. The Concord officers exchanged glances. One stepped forward. "State your purpose." Wren didn't flinch. "We are not soldiers. We are keepers of memory. Our ancestors were helped by your people long ago. We have returned to honor that debt." Mira stepped forward then, her voice steady. "Who was your ancestor?" Wren's gaze softened. "The Starwalker. The one your village saved." A murmur ran through the officers. Even they knew the legend, but Kale noticed something the others didn't. The man with the blue eyes, her first officer, was scanning the area, not with curiosity, but with calculation. His fingers twitched near his belt where a hidden panel might be. He wasn't just observing, he was searching. Inside the moon's central chamber, a dome of white stone and living vines, the truth began to unravel. The conquered High Council appeared via hologram, their faces stern. They demanded proof. Wren provided it. She played a recording, grainy, old but real. A Cathari elder, scales bright with youth, handing a bowl of water to a wounded human. The human spoke in broken Cathari. "Why help me? I am nothing to you." The elder replied, "Kindness needs no reason." The chamber fell silent. Even the vines seemed to still. But then the council's leader, a stern elder named Vor, spoke. "If you are here to thank us, why arrive in silence? Why hide your ship's origin? Why now?" Wren hesitated. "Just for a second." "Because not all among us agree with this mission," she admitted. "There are those who believe humanity should reclaim its place, not through gratitude but through strength." Kale's stomach dropped. So it wasn't just a return. It was a fracture. That night, while others slept, Kyle wandered the moon's gardens. The air smelled of night-blooming flowers and cool stone. He found Captain Wren standing alone at the edge of a cliff, staring at the dark ship in orbit. "You knew about the Starwalker story before you came," Kyle said. She didn't turn. "We've kept it alive for 300 years. In songs, in dreams, in the names we give our children. Then why bring someone who doesn't believe in it?" he asked, nodding toward the direction of her first officer. Wren finally looked at him. "Joran believes kindness is weakness. He thinks the Cathari only helped our ancestor because they feared us. He wants to prove that power, not memory, is what earns respect. And the council fears the same." Kale said quietly. "Yes," she whispered. "And if Joran finds what he's looking for beneath this moon..." "He might be right," Kale frowned. "What's beneath the moon?" Before she could answer, a soft chime echoed through the garden. Wren's wristcom lit up. Her face went pale. "What is it?" Kale asked. She turned to him, eyes wide with dread. "The Vault of Echoes. It's been accessed. From inside." The Vault of Echoes was the moon's heart. A sealed chamber where species left tokens of peace. A feather from the sky people. A song crystal from the deep singers. A child's drawing from a long-dead colony. And, according to legend, something from the Starwalker. Kale and Wren ran. By the time they reached the vault entrance, the door was open. Inside, the air hummed with energy. In the center of the room, floating above a pedestal, was a small pulsing core, silver and warm, shaped like a teardrop. It glowed with soft blue light. Joran stood before it, one hand outstretched, fingers dancing over a holographic interface only he could see. "Stop!" Wren shouted. Joran turned. His blue eyes flickered. "You're too late, Captain. The reckoning begins tonight." "What is that thing?" Kyle asked, breathless. Wren's voice was barely a whisper. "It's not a weapon. It's a judge. The Starwalker didn't just leave thanks. They left a machine that could read hearts, determine who truly seeks peace and who hides war behind pretty words. It was meant to protect the innocent. But it malfunctioned," Joran said, smiling coldly. "It saw too much. It judged too harshly. Our ancestors shut it down. But I've reawakened it, and this time it will choose the strong, not the kind." The core pulsed brighter. The ground shook. A low hum filled the air, growing louder, deeper. Kale looked at Wren. "Can it be stopped?" She shook her head. Only the one who built it or someone who carries their memory can calm it. Outside, the sky darkened further. The Concorde fleet had arrived, surrounding the moon. Warships powered up their cannons. They thought the humans had activated a doomsday device, and maybe they had. Kyle stared at the glowing core. He thought of the signal, the words, the debt, and he knew one thing for certain. This wasn't just about the past anymore. It was about who would shape the future. The hum became a roar. The vault of echoes trembled. And somewhere deep in the moon's bones, something ancient opened its eyes. The vault of echoes shook as the core pulsed with growing light. Blue veins of energy spread across the walls like roots searching for water. Joran stood before it, calm, almost smiling, as if he had waited his whole life for this moment. Captain Wren shouted again, but her voice was lost in the rising hum. Kyle grabbed her arm. "We have to get out of here now," she shook her head. "If that core fully wakes, it won't just judge us, it'll judge everyone on the moon. And if it decides the Cathari are a threat..." She didn't finish. She didn't need to. The Concorde fleet outside was already locking weapons on the human ship. One wrong move and the sanctuary moon would burn. Joran turned to them, his cybernetic eyes glowing brighter. "You still don't understand. This isn't destruction. It's cleansing. The galaxy is full of liars who speak of peace while sharpening knives. The Reckoner will see through them. It will choose who deserves to lead." "The Starwalker didn't build this to pick rulers," Wren said, stepping forward. "They built it to protect the helpless. And look where kindness got them," Joran snapped. "Scattered, forgotten, erased. I won't let that happen again." He tapped a final command into the air. The core flared. A wave of force threw Kale and Wren back against the wall. The ground cracked. Dust rained from the ceiling, then silence. The hum stopped. The light dimmed. For a moment, Kale thought it was over. But then a voice filled the chamber, not from Joran, not from Wren, but from the core itself. Soft-layered, both human and machine, scanning intent, assessing truth. Joran's smile faded. He looked down at his hands. "No, it's not supposed to activate yet." The core floated higher. A beam of light shot out, sweeping over Joran first. He stiffened. His eyes widened in shock. Then he fell to his knees, gasping as if something invisible was pressing on his chest. "It sees you," Wren whispered. "It sees what you really want." Kyle watched in horror as Joran's skin began to gray. Not from injury, from something deeper. Like his will was being drained. The Reckoner wasn't killing him. It was correcting him, rewriting his mind to match his stated purpose, peace. But Joran's heart held only ambition. The mismatch was tearing him apart. "Stop it!" Kale yelled at the core. "He's not worth this!" The beam turned toward him. Kyle froze. He felt it then, not pain, but a presence. Cold, ancient, searching. It dug into his memories, hiding in the archive, running from conquered guards, listening to Mira's stories. It saw his fear, his doubt, and his hope. The beam lingered. Then moved to Wren. She stood tall, eyes closed. The light touched her face, her hands, her heart. When it passed, she exhaled slowly. "It knows I speak the truth." Outside, alarms blared. The conquered fleet had detected the energy surge. Warships powered up their main cannons. Vor's voice boomed over every comm channel. "Human vessel, power down your systems or be destroyed." Wren ran to the vault's control panel. "I have to shut it down before it scans the whole moon. If it judges the Concorde as hostile, it might trigger a defense protocol that kills thousands." Kale looked at Joran, now slumped on the floor, breathing shallowly. "What if we can't stop it?" "Then we offer it a better memory," Wren said, typing furiously. "The Reckoner learns from what it's shown. If we show it true kindness, not just words but proof, it might reset." She pulled a small crystal from her pocket, the same kind mentioned in the old legend. "This holds the Starwalker's final thoughts. But it's locked. Only a Cathari memory can open it." Kale understood. "Mira," Wren nodded. "She's the last living descendant of the Elder who helped the Starwalker. Her bloodline carries the memory. But Mira was still aboard the Concorde shuttle in orbit, and the fleet was seconds from firing." Kale made a decision. "There's another way." He ran to the core, ignoring Wren's warning. He placed his hands on the pedestal. "I don't have the blood," he said to the machine, "but I know the story. And I believe in it." The core pulsed again. The voice returned. "State your offering." Kale closed his eyes. He didn't speak of grand battles or noble speeches. He spoke of small things. The way Mira's hand shook when she heard the signal. The way the old elder in the recording gave water without asking for anything back. The way he, a nobody from a dusty rock, risked everything just to understand a voice from the past. "I offer you this," he said. "That kindness isn't weakness. It's the bravest thing there is." The chamber went still. The core dimmed. The hum softened to a whisper. Then, a new sound. A melody, faint, human, sung in a language long dead. The Starwalker's voice rising from the crystal Ren held. It wasn't a command. It was a lullaby. The Reckoner's light turned warm, golden, not blue. The cracks in the floor began to seal. Joran stirred, his color returning, his eyes clear for the first time, but the danger wasn't over. A new alert flashed on Ren's wrist. The conquered fleet. "They're firing!" Kale looked up. Through the vault's transparent dome, he saw energy beams streaking toward the human ship. Ren's crew had no weapons. They couldn't fight back. "They think we activated a weapon," Ren said, voice tight. "We have to show them the truth." She grabbed Kale's hand. "Come on. We're going up." They raced through the moon's tunnels, past gardens and silent halls to the surface landing pad. The white shuttle waited. As they lifted off, the first blast struck the human ship's shields. Sparks flew in the void. Ren opened a channel. "Conquered Command, this is Captain Ren. Stand down." The energy surge was not an attack. It was a test, and we passed. Vor's face appeared on screen, grim. "Your officer triggered a forbidden artifact. You will surrender or be eliminated." "He's not my officer anymore," Ren said. "He acted alone, and the artifact is now at peace." To prove it, she sent the Reckoner's final reading, a data stream showing its judgment. No threat detected. Intent, reconciliation. Vor hesitated. The fleet held fire. Then a new signal cut through all channels. Weak, old, but clear. It was Mira. "I am Elder Mira of the Cathari Conquered," her voice crackled. "I confirm the truth of Captain Ren's words. The Starwalker's gift was not a weapon. It was a mirror. And today it showed us our better selves." Silence stretched. Then slowly the Concord warships powered down their weapons. On the shuttle, Kale let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Ren slumped in her seat, exhausted but relieved. But as they approached the human ship, Kyle noticed something. Joran was gone. He hadn't been on the vault floor when they left, and the shuttle's rear hatch showed signs of being opened from the inside. "He escaped," Kale said. Ren's face darkened. "He knows more than he let on." He wasn't just after power. He was looking for something specific. What? The Reckoner wasn't the only thing the Starwalker left behind, she admitted. "There's a failsafe, a key that can override the Reckoner's judgment if someone knows how to use it." "And Joran?" "He's seen the old schematics." Kale stared at the stars. "Where would he go?" Ren pointed not to the human ship, not to the moon, but deeper, toward the asteroid belt on the far side of the system. "There's a hidden station there, built by our ancestors, forgotten by everyone, except those who never stopped planning to use it." The shuttle turned. The conquered fleet watched, silent now as the small craft vanished into the dark. Below, on the sanctuary moon, the vault of echoes glowed softly, its light steady and calm. The Reckoner rested, but its peace was fragile, and somewhere in the void, a man with blue eyes carried a key that could break it forever. Kale knew one thing for sure. This wasn't over. The debt of kindness had been remembered, but not everyone wanted to repay it. Some wanted to collect it by force, and the next move would decide whether the galaxy healed or burned. The asteroid belt hung in silence, a graveyard of rock and ice circling the outer edge of the system. No ships came here. No signals bounced off these stones. It was forgotten space, perfect for hiding secrets. Kale and Ren flew the shuttle low, scanning the debris with passive sensors. Active scans might alert Joran. They couldn't risk that. The man was wounded but not broken, and he knew this place better than they did. "He used to train here," Ren said, her voice tight, "before he turned. Before he started believing humanity needed to rule, not remember." Kyle watched the readouts. Nothing. Just cold rock and drifting dust. Then a flicker. A heat signature, faint but steady, deep inside asteroid K-12, the largest in the belt, hollowed out long ago. "That's it," Ren whispered. They landed in a shadowed crater, engines off, lights dimmed. The air outside was thin, barely enough to breathe, but their suits held. They moved quickly, boots crunching on frozen gravel, toward a narrow tunnel hidden behind a slab of iron ore. Inside, the walls were smooth, carved by tools, not nature. Faint lights glowed along the floor, powered by geothermal taps deep below. The station was old but not dead. They found Joran in the central chamber. He stood before a console, fingers flying over keys, eyes locked on a screen showing the sanctuary moon. The Reckoner's golden light pulsed in the display. Joran was trying to override it. "You're too late," he said without turning. "The key is already in place." "What key?" Kale demanded. Joran finally looked at them. His face was pale, but his eyes burned with purpose. The Starwalker didn't just leave a judge. They left a master. A command core that can rewrite the Reckoner's purpose, turn it from a mirror into a sword. Ren stepped forward. "That's not what it was meant for. It was meant to protect humanity," Joran shot back. "And right now we're weak. The Conquered sees us as ghosts. The other species laugh at our return. But with the Reckoner under our control, no one will dare challenge us again." "You'd turn peace into fear," Kale said. "I'd turn survival into strength," Joran corrected. "You think kindness saved your people?" "No, power did. The Elder helped the Starwalker because they saw what humanity could become. Not because they were soft, but because they were smart." Kyle shook his head. "You're wrong. The Elder helped because it was right." Joran smiled bitterly. "Then let the Reckoner decide who's right." He slammed his palm on the console. Back on the sanctuary moon, the golden light of the Reckoner flickered, then turned red. Alarms blared across the moon. The vines in the gardens withered. The air grew cold. The Reckoner's voice echoed through every chamber, calm and terrible. New directive received. Assessing threats. Preparing correction. On the conquered fleet, Vor shouted orders. Shields went up, weapons charged. They thought the humans had betrayed them. Aboard the human ship, Ren's crew panicked. "Captain, the Reckoner is targeting Cathari biosignatures." Ren's comm crackled. It was Mira. "Kale, whatever you're doing, stop it. The Reckoner is scanning every Cathari on the moon. If it labels us as enemies, it will erase us." Kale looked at Joran. "Shut it down." "I can't," Joran said. "The command is locked. Only a blood descendant of the Starwalker can cancel it." Ren paled. "There are none left. The last died generations ago." But Kale remembered something. In the vault, when he touched the pedestal, the Reckoner had seen his memories. It had listened. Maybe it didn't need blood. Maybe it needed belief. He ran to the console. Joran tried to stop him, but Ren tackled him to the ground. Kale's fingers flew over the keys, not to break the code, but to send a message, straight to the Reckoner. He didn't send data. He sent a feeling. He thought of the Elder giving water, of Mira risking her life to protect a stranger, of Ren choosing truth over victory. He poured every memory of real kindness into the signal, raw and unfiltered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then deep in the asteroid, the lights dimmed. The console screen flickered. The red light on the Reckoner's display wavered. Joran struggled against Ren. "It won't work. Machines don't understand heart." But the Reckoner wasn't just a machine. It was built from a human mind fused with Cathari wisdom. It understood more than logic. It understood sacrifice. On the sanctuary moon, the red light softened. The voice spoke again. Conflicting directives detected, re-evaluating. The withered vines began to bloom once more, but Joran wasn't done. He twisted free from Ren and pulled a small device from his belt. A pulse detonator. "If I can't control it, no one will." He threw it toward the core chamber's main power conduit. Kale dove, knocking the device aside just as it activated. The blast wasn't huge, but it was enough. The station shook. Cracks raced up the walls. Oxygen alarms blared, the asteroids breaking apart. Ren yelled. They ran. Behind them, Joran didn't follow. He stood at the console, watching the Reckoner's screen, his face calm. "Let it judge me," he said softly. "I did what I thought was right." Kale and Ren barely made it to the shuttle. As they lifted off, the asteroid split open, spilling rock and fire into space. Joran vanished in the collapse. Back at the sanctuary moon, the Reckoner's light returned to gold. The threat was gone, but the damage was done. The Concord fleet hadn't seen Kale's message. They hadn't felt the shift in the Reckoner's heart. All they saw was a human station exploding after an energy surge. To them, it looked like a cover-up, a failed attack. Vor's face appeared on Ren's comm, harder than before. "You claim peace, yet your actions bring chaos. Leave the system, now, or we will remove you by force." Ren's hands clenched. "We saved you!" "You brought danger to a holy place," Vor replied. "That is not gratitude. That is recklessness." Kyle watched the fleet form a blockade. They were trapped, but then Mira's voice cut in. "Wait." She appeared on screen, standing in the Vault of Echoes, the Reckoner glowing behind her. "I was there when the Starwalker left. Not in body, but in memory. My ancestors' memory lives in me. And I say this, the humans did not bring chaos. They faced it, and they chose peace even when it cost them everything." She turned to the Reckoner. "Show them," the core pulsed. A new signal beamed out, not just to the Concorde, but to every ship, every station, every listening ear in the system. It showed everything. Joran's betrayal, Kale's offering, the moment the red light turned gold again. Silence followed. Then, slowly, the Concorde warships powered down their weapons. Vor bowed his head. "We misjudged," but Kale felt no relief. He looked at Ren. "Joran's gone, but what he believed, it's still out there. Others think like him," Ren nodded, "and they'll keep coming. As long as humanity is seen as weak, they'll try to make us strong in the worst way. So what do? Kyle asked. Ren looked at the stars. "We show them that kindness isn't weakness. We show them that remembering is the strongest thing we can do." Below on the moon, the Reckoner glowed softly, its light steady. It had judged. It had chosen. But the real test wasn't over. Because somewhere in the galaxy, others would hear the story. Some would be inspired. Others would be angry. And the next time humanity returned, the galaxy would be watching. Not just with eyes, but with hearts ready to decide. Was kindness worth remembering? Kale knew the answer, but proving it would take more than one moment. It would take a lifetime and maybe, just maybe, a second chance. The silence after the storm was heavier than the noise. On the sanctuary moon, the air smelled of rain and wet stone, though no clouds hung in the sky. The Reckoner's light glowed steady and gold in the Vault of Echoes, no longer a judge, but a witness. It had seen the truth, and it had chosen to believe. Kale stood at the edge of the moon's central garden, watching the Concorde fleet slowly disperse. Warships that had once pointed weapons now turned their bows toward home. The blockade was gone, but the fear remained, in the way the Ketheri guards kept their distance, in the quiet tension in every voice. Captain Ren joined him. Her uniform was torn, her face tired, but her eyes were clear. "They'll watch us," she said. "Not with guns this time." "With questions," Kyle nodded. "Good, let them ask." Mira approached then, leaning on a simple wooden cane. She looked older, as if the weight of the past days had pressed years onto her bones, but she smiled when she saw them. "The council has called a full assembly," she said. "They want to hear the whole story from the beginning." "Will they listen?" Kale asked. Mira looked toward the vault. "They have to. The Reckoner showed them what we felt, not just what we did. That changes everything." Later, in the great chamber beneath the moon's surface, Kale stood before the Concorde High Council. No guards, no chains, just open space and waiting eyes. He told them everything. Finding the signal, fleeing the archive, meeting Ren, chasing Joran into the dark. He didn't hide his fear. He didn't pretend to be brave. He just spoke the truth. When he finished, Vor, the sternest of the elders, was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "You risked your life for a memory." "Yes," Kyle replied. "Because memories are all we have to build the future on." Ren stepped forward. "We didn't come to take. We came to return. The Starwalker was saved by your people. We are their children. And we remember." She placed a small data crystal on the council table. "This holds everything we know, our history, our songs, our mistakes. Not as a weapon, as a gift." The elders exchanged glances. Then Vor picked up the crystal. "We will study it. Not to find weakness, but to understand. It wasn't trust. Not yet. But it was a start." In the days that followed, something quiet began to grow. Ketheri scholars visited the human ship, not as inspectors, but as students. Human engineers helped repair the moon's old systems, not as workers, but as neighbors. Children from both sides played in the gardens, teaching each other words in languages long silent. Kale watched it all with wonder. He had expected war. Instead, he saw curiosity. He had feared judgment. Instead, he found listening. One evening, as the twin moons of Lyra rose in the sky, Ren found him by the old telescope dome, the same one from Varel 9. rebuilt here as a symbol. "We're leaving tomorrow," she said. Kale wasn't surprised. "Back to the stars?" She nodded. "There are other worlds, other memories. Some humans still believe like Joran. Some Cathari still fear us. But if we stay in one place, the story ends. If we travel, it grows. What will you tell them?" He asked. "The truth," she said. "That kindness was given, and that we remembered." She handed him a small device, a comm unit, simple and strong. "If you ever need us, this will find our ship. No matter where we are," Kale took it. "And if someone else finds a signal like I did, then they'll know they're not alone," she said softly. The next morning, the human ship prepared to depart. It no longer looked like a shadow in the sky. Now it shone in the sunlight, clean and open. Its hull marked with a single symbol. 2 hands, one scaled, one smooth, holding a star between them. As the engines hummed to life, Mira stood beside Kale. "You could go with them," she said. He shook his head. "My place is here, to make sure the story doesn't get forgotten again." She smiled. "Then you'll be the new keeper." Above, the ship lifted gently, without hurry, without threat. It passed through the rings of Lyra, catching the light like a promise. Then it vanished into the deep. On the moon, life returned to calm. But it was a different calm now, warmer, wider, filled with new voices. Kyle walked back to the vault of echoes. The reckoner pulsed softly, its light steady. He placed his hand on the pedestal. "Thank you," he whispered. The machine didn't speak. But for a moment the light brightened as if in reply. Weeks later, Kale received a message on the comm Ren had given him. Just 3 words. "They're listening," he smiled. Somewhere on a distant world another signal had been found. Another voice had said, "We remember your kindness." And this time someone was ready to answer. The galaxy was vast, full of fear, yes, but also full of chances. And humanity, once thought lost, was no longer just returning. They were reminding everyone that the smallest act of grace could echo across centuries. Kyle looked up at the stars. He wasn't just a researcher anymore. He was a bridge. And as long as he stood, the debt of kindness would never go unpaid. Far away, the human ship sailed on, carrying not weapons, not warnings, but stories. And in every port it visited, in every heart it touched, the same truth grew stronger, that to help a stranger is to plant a seed, and one day, someone will return to water it. The end was not an end at all. It was a beginning, written in memory, spoken in trust, and carried on the wings of those who refused to forget.